Today we're gonna look at the function of CMake in Geant4. So what does CMake do? Well, you have your source code in the root directory inside the include folder and the src folder. Now what CMake will do is what you tell it to do. So you specify uh, what CMake does. First and then what CMake will do for Windows machines is that it will um, take Visual Studio as a compiler. For example, you can use other ways as well, and it will generate some other new files, and this describes how to compile and link your program. So Visual Studio will compile and build your program and make an executable which you will be able to run. So let's go over what's inside CMakeLists.txt. So you will have your folder structure like this. So this is your B1 root directory, which is an example application of Geant4, and you will have input directories, src directories. The build directory you won't be able to see it because CMake will build it for you, and you can see that CMake list is in the root directory of your project. So in the first lines you can see that uh, CMake requires a version. So you specify which version of CMake you will be using and the project name, which is the project folder name. In our case it is B1. So in the next line you can set an option for your program to be run with the visualization features on or off. Here we defined a variable called with Geant4 UVs. This is a boolean variable is set to on, and if with Geant4 UVs is on, CMake will add the Geant4 files along with optional visualization files that will be required for visualizations. With visualizations on, you can see all the objects you create and the particle trajectories and while running the simulation, or you can just ignore visualizations. In this case, in the else statement, we have just enabled the essential Geant4 files and omitted the UVs all and UI all files. So in this mode, you can just run your Geant4 program from the terminal. In the next line, we will be adding some Geant4 specific scripts which resides in the Geant4 uh, folder. In the next line, we will be specifying our include directory and src directory in the CMake file. So we are telling that CMake that these are our input directories, and we are also specifying all the files inside the src folder and the include folder. So CMake will be aware of all those files we'll put into the include folder and src folder. In the next line we will be specifying basically the main program, the main function of our code. So obviously the main function will be in the root directory. So in our case it's inside the example b1.cc. So we have named our example b1 as example b1.cc. This example b1 will be the name of the executable file, and these are some optional files that are essential for the IDE to function properly, which is not required for all the IDEs. In the next line, we will be linking Geant4 libraries into our application. So it comes from the Geant4 library and we will be linking them into our program. So there are a couple more lines here. We have talked about those two, and we have to define some our macro files. So we'll be using additional macro files for our program. uh, we will be using them after running our program, so they are helpful for various kinds of things. You can specify your own custom macro file that will do certain stuff after you run the program, so you don't have to build the program every single time to do a thing differently each time. So CMake has to know these uh, the scripts that you have made. So these macro files we will be defined under this variable name. So we have to do another thing. You see that these macro files are currently inside the root directory directly. So after we run the program, these files have to be present uh, alongside the program directory. So these files also need to be present inside the build directory in order for your program to find these macro files. So this little for each loop copies all the files in your root directory, the macro files, and copies them into your build directory. And in the next line we'll be telling CMake whether we want the installation files. So with this line you can make installer files that you can send to other computers, other Windows machines that has some different configurations, and they will be able to install your developed Geant4 program into their machine. But this is optional if you are only using the Geant4 program in your local machine, because so then you won't be needing an installer file. The Geant4 program will be already installed in your machine. You can download CMake by going to CMake.org and press the download button, and you will see here that there is a Windows 64 version installer. Just go ahead and install it and follow the instructions along and you will be fine. And one other thing, after the installation, make sure that your CMake is in the path variable. So go to the system environment variables, and here down here in the system variable, click on path and click edit and see whether CMake is present. So you can see that my CMake is installed in this directory, so it's already added in the path. So everything is good from the CMake side. So that's all for today. Thank you very much.